Welcome to the Artist Exchange, where two artists come together on one podcast to talk anything and everything about music. And they both perform. Make sure you hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you are listening or watching. And now, here's your host, Bennett Shear.
Hey everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the Artist Exchange. I'm your host, Bennett Shear. I am really excited to welcome our very first two artists, Grace Pehrman and Nico Cardoso.
Hello,
everyone.
Hi, Bennett.
How's it going?
Swimmingly.
Swimmingly is crazy.
Yes. All right, so Grace, Nico, I kind of want to give you guys both a chance to sort of individually introduce yourselves and have us get to know you. So whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Grace, go ahead.
Okay, hey guys, my name is Grace Pehrman. I am a singer-songwriter, a musician, visual artist, and I also write some comedy as well. And I'm from New Jersey. Currently in Boston. I've been here for a couple of years now. I'm going to Berklee College of Music. Just graduated. I've been writing a lot recently. Doing a lot of my music is very rock / folk / blues, and inspired by a lot of psychedelic rock as well. Yeah, I guess that's the gist of me.
Hi everyone, my name is Nico Cardoso. I'm from Orange County, California. I am a singer-songwriter currently in my third year at Berklee College of Music. I'm getting my degree in songwriting. I write pop alternative, indie, and I'm excited to be here.
So Grace, welcome back, because if you guys don't already know, if you're new to sort of my, I guess if you want to call it podcast network, I host a podcast called American Idol Unaired. I interview American Idol contestants who weren't aired on the show. And Grace, you were on my American Idol podcast. And so this new podcast is a chance to bring artists with their artist friends. And I'm kicking things off with some American Idol contestants. Grace, you brought your friend Nico with you. And I would love to hear both of you discuss how you met and this friendship and anything that you want to talk about.
Cool. Yeah. So great to be back. I'm so grateful you asked me to rejoin. So much fun on the last one. Yeah. So Nico Cardoso, where did he get? He's gonna kill me if I say anything. But no, Nico and I met. I'm already blanking. Like a year
and a half ago.
A year and a half ago. Yeah. I'm now president of Pitch Slap Acapella, which is that Berklee's premier acapella, whatever, the whole bell and whistles acapella group. And Nico auditioned and joined. Tyler Christian, who was on your show prior as well, is Nico's roommate. Tyler and I are best of friends, and Nico and I are also best of friends. So the three of us kind of became really close over the past year and a half. And you said bring an artist friend, and I think Nico is a fantastic artist, and his songwriting is so unique and new and exciting. I'm happy to introduce you guys together.
Grace is insane. I'm very happy I get to call her a friend. Yeah, she's a bit of a tornado because she's like, you don't expect it. You meet her at first. When I first joined the group, and she's in this board, I was a little scared. I was like, oh, this is like, very rigid structure wise. And then I got to know her, and I was like, oh, Grace is she's just like us. Like she's crazy, but she's super approachable. She's very talented. I mean, vocally freaking insane. And just getting to work with her in Pitch Slap, but even outside of that, just hearing her music and going to shows that she's done in Boston has been really fun. And just getting to see her has been awesome.
I think what I'm most excited to start off with is before you guys met, how you each started in music. And I'm really interested to see how you two kind of find maybe the similarities and the differences with your own individual musical journeys and how they sort of maybe intersected once you got to Berklee. So whoever wants to kind of kick that off, let's talk about how you both kind of fell into music in the first place.
I can start this one. So I grew up in a relatively musical household. My dad plays guitar, he sings, so that's always just kind of been my background and something that I've had around me. But I was super fortunate. I was able to go to an arts, like middle school / high school. So I started with musical theater, oddly enough, because I'm not the biggest musical theater person now, but I started there and then switched into, they have a popular music program. So I started doing that. And then that's how I found out about Berklee and kind of fostered my development through that. and I was there 7th through senior year, so about 6 years. And just while I was there, I found out, I really like singing. It's something I feel comfortable with. But I also really like songwriting, and I found that out towards my last few years. So I knew going into Berklee that that's something that I wanted to really want to double down on and focus on. So yeah, it's been a bit of my journey, the broad strokes.
I had a not very similar thing. I didn't go to a performing arts school. I went to a high school that was tiny. My graduating class was 15 children. It was so small, it barely existed. But they had a great music program, so I ended up doing that all through my upbringing. Got into I did a lot of opera and musical theater at first, like Nico did. I still love theater and acting to this day. I have a drama minor that I just graduated with. But yeah, I ended up going from MT, which is musical theater, into like jazz was a big part of my vocal styling, and then I've always had a big thing for rock, and then jazz turns into blues and blues turns into rock. So I sing primarily rock now, which is it's just my heart and soul these days, and I really am passionate about it. But just growing up, everyone in my family is musical. My dad is a worship leader at our church. Grew up doing that, so I kind of was introduced to the stage, doing singing and worship and services and stuff.
I actually had in my notes when I was going back, I was like 15 kids, and I was kind of curious what Nico was going to say, because I didn't know, how many kids you were going to say you went to school with, but it's like, that's always kind of the uncommon thing. I had maybe 30 kids in my grade, but it is interesting thinking about who you surround yourself with, right? When you grow up. I mean, how do you guys feel about being musicians as kids? Because it really depends. I mean, if you're with other musicians when you're young versus maybe going to school with other kids with different interests, that can really affect sort of how you are influenced. And do you play music because you have kids around you that also like it? Do you have a lot of friends who are artists? Do you not? And I'm sure that you both have a lot to say about what it was like to be a kid who loved music.
Absolutely. Like, I think in my case, because in my school I was like the music person. It was like when I got to an environment, like, so when I went to start college at Berklee, everyone was good, and everyone in your mind is better than you as well. So it is being a kid who loves music, it has its really special moments, and it also has that feeling of anxiety and imposter syndrome that we all get a lot. But Nico's been surrounded by music people his whole life, so I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I think the only time that I felt like different for liking music was like elementary school. I remember it was kind of weird. Everyone else was playing, soccer, ball, and I just kind of liked like sitting by myself and just kind of singing. But outside of that, like in high school, I had I'm so lucky that I was surrounded by the people I was, because these were really good musicians. So I kind of got to like not test the waters, but just get comfortable in that environment. And there were a lot of vocalists, which is primarily what I'm working with now. But there was also drummers, guitarists, bass players, like you name it, we had them. So being able to communicate and work with these people from 14 on was really, I think, important for me.
You guys want to dive a little bit more into who you were listening to and kind of how that evolved as you got older, and the artists that really, kind of were your own idols as you were growing up?
In high school, I really liked Frank Ocean. That was like a huge inspiration and influence on me. As I got to college, it kind of drifted a little more into a more kind of standard pop routine. So, I think Justin Bieber's like a crazy vocalist. He's actually I don't think you'd expect it when you hear my stuff, but he is a very big influence on me. Role model. A lot of those acts are very, like, to me, influential, just because it's more of my sound, and from a writer's perspective, that's kind of what I'm not emulating, but like in that vein. Yeah. How about yourself, Grace? Because I know you have like every genre under the book at this point that you do. So.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Reggae is still untouched. But I think I have so many influences at this point. Like a lot of people in southern New Jersey, it's just like classic rock from your father for a long time. So it's like I vocally, I would say I've been so studious when it comes to old soul records. So Al Green and Donny Hathaway are my top singers of all time. And of course, when I was in my jazz phase, Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan. So I've been a really jazz, blues, soul listener most of my life, but I was obsessed with, you know, the more showy stuff like piano rock, because I'm a pianist as well as like Elton John and Billy Joel. And then as I got more and more into like high school, I listened to a ton of hip hop. One of my favorite artists ever, from a creative standpoint, is Tyler the Creator. Just for creative direction and art, just being an artist and his eye for things is like I respect him so much, and I'd love to kind of emulate that creative design in my own work and visuals.
Mm. I want to briefly mention something I meant to say it a minute ago, but I know we touched on kind of the stereotypical, like, oh, like in elementary school, maybe it wasn't cool to be a musician or whatever. Do you guys think that's changing now? Maybe, I don't know if it's social media or TikTok, this person sings or they want to write their own songs. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Nico, content grind over here. What do you
Yeah. I think there is I think that is a thing. I think people are definitely we're seeing more musicians, I think, as a whole. And I think it's also just due to accessibility. I mean, all of the work that I do is on my laptop, and that's, you know, in the 70s, you have to book out a studio session, but now I can kind of work in my bedroom and do stuff from there. So I think that just by nature is going to promote a more diverse and large group of people creating.
I mean, you could write a thesis on social media's effect on musicianship and especially in young minds and young creators. But I think social media, I think Nico and I are kind of the last generation where we grew up without like heavy like screen time. You're 2000, I'm 2001, I think. No, you're 2002, I'm 2001.
2002. I'm younger
Sorry,
than you, yeah.
I'm older than you. But I think yeah, I think it's really interesting to see. I think there's definitely a lot more singers specifically. Especially you have people in COVID, they had nothing to do but pick up a guitar and kind of noodle with it. So you're seeing more. I think there is a bit of a limitation to it, because I think when you're super engrossed in like going viral and being the next person, you end up a lot of your practice time gets being devoted to posting something rather than improving yourself. So I think that's a little bit of a struggle that I think Nico probably can relate to as well. Like sometimes I'm practicing something and the motivation is to post it instead of just to like practice it. So that's, I think, a little bit of a pitfall with it, but I think it's a great thing that people are doing more music. That was the longest answer ever. I'm so sorry.
It was a great answer. As soon as you said the word thesis, I'm like, I'm into it. This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nico, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because I think it's really good that we're having so many people like with this ability, and like being able to kind of share and spread music and art. There is something to be said about, oh geez, I was reading a book like this past summer called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F Word, which I won't swear. And it in the book it talks about this idea of kind of like exceptionalism, and because of where we are now with things like social media and kind of what I was speaking about earlier, everyone has technically the same chance. And with stuff like social media, you swipe and you see a random person from like Idaho who's in a flooded Planet Fitness, and like now this person is famous online. So when you go on social media and you go through your explore page or your For You, all you're seeing is, you know, the exceptions, but then that becomes all you see. So now how does that affect people like us who are putting in this kind of work and we aren't those exceptions, or maybe it takes some time to build up to it? It's a weird world that we kind of operate in, because it's so amorphous and like just constantly changing, and with stuff like that it can be really I think detrimental to musicians and the attitude that we have approaching creating, because at a certain point it's not enough to just create. You have to be the best at something, or you have to have something perfected and ready to display to the public, instead of just being able to, you know, say, here's a piece of art, here's what I've created, and I'd like to share it. Yeah.
I think so much so much of music is about not doing something well, or rejection. It's a rejection based industry in the like at its basis, but like a personal improvement is based around not being perfect at something. So like when you're when you're like I have to get this perfect so I can post it, that is, I think in a way counteractive to what you're trying to do for yourself. Yeah. So social media is great, and it's also like, and then it's also,
Yeah.
you know.
Yesterday I was recording some stuff just vocally for something I'm going to post soon, and I spent probably 30 minutes on one bar of the song, just trying to get one little run perfect. And I had I think I totaled up to like 45, 50 takes of just one bar, just trying to get it clean. With, again, what Grace is saying, not the intention of trying to improve, but just so that it sounds good enough that I can post it.
Anybody, I think, who is creative strives to make something as good as they can make it. But maybe now with this audience that you have, this instant audience that we have, it's like it has got to be so killer, maybe because there's so much competition, or because there's that instant idea of, okay, what's going to make them stay for more than 5 seconds? I don't know. Maybe we just get so sucked into this idea of extreme perfectionism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I mean, Nico and I are both very much perfectionists by nature when it comes to our own like craft, either songwriting or vocal performance or musicianship, even though I'm not as good as a musician as Nico is. But I think all it's a pitfall for all musicians. You get sucked into it, whether it's social media perfection or like just like, I don't know, personal craft. It's a battle that you have to, just being an artist in general, just letting your creative mind go and not think about the check marks it gets on performance.
Yeah, it's from as a, how do I want to phrase this? In terms of songwriting, I think that can get very brainy when you're trying to put something together that way. Something that I've found helps me a lot and really, I think, progressed me as an artist and as a writer was realizing the song doesn't matter if there isn't a heart to it. And at least, well, depending on what the song is. For what I was trying to do, it needed to have that, and I wasn't getting it. So then finally understanding that and being able to kind of pour everything emotionally into a song and have it mean something was a huge milestone for me. And it's funny, to me, there's almost a before and after, where I'll go through voice memos or like old sessions from 19, 20, early 2020, and I listen and I'm like, yeah, he doesn't get it yet. There's something missing. And being around other artists our age, I'm friends with a few freshmen at Berklee, and getting to listen to their stuff. A lot of them are insane. Most of them are like killer, and no matter what, great musicians. But listening from a writing perspective, to hear there's a song is presented, and I'm like, oh, okay, you have a really good ear, but I can tell what you're going for, and it hasn't clicked yet. And it's not, I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. It's just about time and experience. And I'm lucky enough to say that I've been writing for, I think, 6 or 7 years now. So that pales in comparison to most people in the industry, but that's still, a good amount of time. Definitely through my formative years. So I have, that experience backing me in approaching other people's music and music that I listen to. I kind of have that in my head now.
Another big thing like Nico was talking about perfection, and especially I'm a new songwriter. Like, I've written, ditties and stuff, but 2022 is the first year that I wrote songs. I was like, this is what I want to say, and I like how it sounds. And Nico and I have never been this kind to each other ever. So this podcast is a very rare thing. But no, Nico is a very big inspiration to writing as well. And we were doing a session together once, and he said something that stuck with me, and about perfection in songwriting and stuff like that. And I was struggling with this one lyric. I was like, this is not like brainy enough. Like, it's not smart enough. And Nico was like, not every lyric has to be brainy. It just has to, like, be from your heart, and that, ever since then, I've been like, I can say whatever I please. So, but not, but with consideration. But that stuck with me. So it's really great having songwriter friends. And Nico's one of the best, and he's gonna kill me. We've never been this kind to each other ever, so this is really
terrifying.
This is terrifying. And but yeah. So that's
This is groundbreaking, man. I've unleashed the beast,
Yeah.
Will it continue?
Therapy. Yeah.
I guess we have to do a follow up in like 20 episodes. Or are they still...
We're like best friends.
Yes.
No, I blocked her. I don't speak to her anymore.
Get a big writer's falling out.
Yeah.
Oh,
He steals my songs. He stole a work.
This is so great. It's great for you guys because it's like group therapy. It's great for me because it's like
therapy.
we came on the artist exchange and suddenly I could look at him without frowning.
I can look at him and not just want to like bash my head into a wall.
Oh, it's so mutual. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. This reminds me of a script I'm actually writing about two people that have to go to the guidance counselor's office together because they can't stand each other that much.
That's good. Yeah, we talked about that last time, that you're writing like script stuff. Nico's a movie nerd over here too.
Yeah? What kind of movies?
Let me think. Okay. I will say I just watched, this is such a cliche, but I just watched Fight Club for the first time like a couple months ago. That was crazy. Memories of Murder, the Bong Joon-ho movie, is really good. When I came back from college, I was sick for the first week, so I kind of just laid in my bed and was just watching random movies. And that one has been on my list for a while, so I was like, I'll watch that, and it was crazy. It was really, really good. I like those like kind of crime thriller, like Seven. I always get these two mixed up. David Lynch, I think, is awesome. It's either Lynch or Fincher. I always get them mixed up.
Lynch, Finch, Grinch.
Yeah.
Mr. Grinch.
Yes. Have you guys seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
I have not.
Yes, actually, I watched that with my family this holiday.
Yeah, funny, right?
Oh my goodness, those are crazy. Grace, you like it? It's very slapstick. Yeah.
Oh, good. I watched for the first time. I watched Airplane for the first time, which I had never seen before, and that was like I don't know how I never watched it. That's like Monty Python, like Airplane, like stupid, silly comedy. It was one of my favorite things I've seen. But yeah, I'm getting into. I've also been in my movie phase recently, just because I'm bored, really, and I'm done school. So I'm watching anything.
Yeah.
So how about you guys each answer this question for each other? Grace, what's a movie or a show that you love but you think that Nico would hate? And then Nico, you'll say a show or movie that you love but you think that Grace would hate.
I have one because I actually saw it with Grace and she hated it and I adored it entirely.
Yeah.
The new Batman movie that came out this year with Robert Pattinson, I thought it was awesome. And we got out of that theater and Grace looks at me and she goes, "That movie was horrible.
It was terrible. It was so long. And I don't know. I'm a dialogue person. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
I agree. There's such thing as too much action.
That's true.
Yeah, see, Nico, it's 2 against 1. Batman was ass.
Oh my god.
All right. I'm trying to think of something. Nico, have I forced you to watch something and you're like, this was terrible?
Actually, all the time. So Grace will like to do this thing where if people are over, she's like, guys, let's watch a shark movie.
Oh, don't do that.
So she'll put on like any number of shark movies she can find from some dark web site. And it's just, they're always awful. And Grace gets she knows they're bad, but you get excited. They're like so bad, they're good.
I get excited. On I don't know if you remember, Bennett, on Idol, like my like fun fact, the producers were like, oh, we need a fun fact for you, was that I've seen every shark movie like ever.
Yeah.
And so I like to drag my friends into hell with me. It's not a terrible expenditure. But no, there's some terrible ones. I watched one I came back from Jamaica a couple weeks ago. I watched it's one called Maneater, and they had you know how iMovie has those stinger sound effects? That's like, it literally had those in it.
Oh my god.
The budget was like $56, and they used the iMovie stingers, and I was like, this is insane. It was so. Yeah, so Nico, that's the movie we'll watch. It's called Maneater.
That'd be an interesting bonding activity to see, like, if you could actually sit through each other's like movie that you love but they hate, and if you that's a real friend if you can sit through that movie and not like scream, because you.
Yeah, I feel bad for Grace because the one I picked is like 3.5 hours long. So.
Yeah, no, I was in the theater and I was just like, it was a beautiful film. Like, it was so well shot. It was so the shots were gorgeous. I was just like, I can't do another hour and 15 of this.
Yeah.
But it
my
hit like
gosh.
2 hours. So I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll rest.
Maybe it's just like you have to forget that it's terrible writing and just enjoy the cinematography and be like, look at the colors, and
Yeah.
just go into that mindset. Do you guys want to talk about your writing process? I feel like that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Of course.
I have, it's so funny. I feel like it changes every few weeks. Because at least between musicians, we will talk about this. So there's always this debate or idea of like, do you start with lyrics? Do you start with progression with chords, or do you start with a melody? For the life of me, cannot start with a melody. So that leaves me with two. I've tried doing it lyrics first, and it's fine, but I think at least right now, what I'm locked into is I have to start with the progression first. So what I'll do is whether it's guitar or just in a Logic session with like random sounds and keyboard stuff that I find, will write out just like a 4-bar, 8-bar loop. And then I have horrible voice memos and horrible takes in my Logic session of me just kind of improvising melodies over that. And then from there, kind of finding what the progression, what that vibe is, what the story in just the chords is, and the emotion that kind of I find from that. And then I start kind of listening to my little like na 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 na, and just like finding lyrics that fit there, and then kind of make sense with both the emotion and and stresses and syllables and all that. How about you guys? Is it? I don't know what you do actually. And you've been friends for a while.
We probably should know this about each other. Yeah, I don't know how we've never talked about this. But I am super lyrical based when it comes to writing. I don't even start a song until I know what I want to say, basically. So my notes app is insane. I have a whole folder called, there's this technique writers use called song seeds, where like you see something or you feel something throughout your daily life and you just like write it down. So say like a friend of yours says something to you and you're like, oh my god, that's so poetic and beautiful, let me write that down. And it happens in conversations with us too and our other friends. It's really fun. So like for example, my friend was talking about what'd she say? She was talking about treating every task that in your daily life like a celebration, like those words word for word. And I was like, that's gorgeous, let me write that down. So all of those ideas are in there. And then I kind of have depends on what instrument I'm writing it on. Typically I write on guitar, even though I'm a terrible guitarist, which you'll find out. But I think it's better not to think too much about the musical side of it, when you're writing, and just kind of let the chords happen based around what you're trying to say. That's also how a lot of writers like Joni Mitchell, she writes with like almost every word has a different note under it, and each note has a different emotional like charge to it. Yeah, so I'm super lyrical. I really never write accompaniment stuff first.
Yeah, song seeds are very useful. That's something that I learned about at Berklee, just in a songwriting class. Something I wish I knew earlier, because it's a very useful thing to have. I feel like learning about it kind of changed my approach, because now even just in regular conversation, I'll hear something that is like, maybe just a throwaway phrase that a friend says, and I'm like, oh, that has so much something to it, so much grit or something.
Write that down.
Like
Write that down.
yeah, exactly. And then I'll pull up my phone. I'll even tell them, I'll be like, I'm sorry, I have to write that down. That was crazy. We were in a rehearsal, and my roommate, a dear friend of both of us, Tyler, who we mentioned earlier, Tyler's kind of guiding everyone in rehearsal, and they're talking about, directing the group and trying to see change in the group. And they said something along the lines of, don't make me go hoarse for nothing. And instantly I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like that in a song that's a poignant
Tyler
line.
turning
There's something
into a
to that.
horse.
A song called Animals. It made me wonder if that was in the song Animals.
Very nice.
I have to tell them that. That's really funny.
Which is a good song, by the way. You guys should stream Animals by Tyler Christian.
Yes,
It's very
Stream
good.
Animals by
Yes,
Tyler
yes.
Christian.
And Caught Up, because I have 6% credit on that. So
Do you really?
Really?
yeah, I help Tyler, at least for this project. I'm helping them edit all of their songs lyrically. So I have, yeah.
I did not know that.
Wow.
Hey.
I'm gonna get your production services soon anyway. So I'm gonna collaborate on my record too.
Grace, so do you do more writing, production, or talk about how much production you do?
0.
That's not true.
It's okay. I can pull a demo out of my behind if I need to. I keep choosing the worst words ever. But no, I do a lot more writing than production. I can use some MIDI uh, instruments and pull some Apple loops and have something that you can listen to. It's not like the best, like most fun you'll have listening to it. But a thing I want to do now that I'm super free with free time is get some production lessons and either through YouTube or LinkedIn Learning and figure out how to mix and make my work sound a lot more polished before it goes to someone whose job it is and who's very skilled in that. So.
Mm-hmm.
Nico's a very good demo maker and producer.
Yes, that's how I describe it. I won't say I'm a producer, but I can make a mean demo. I'm very neurotic when it comes to my music, so I have in my head almost exactly how it needs to sound. So then I will spend hours picking through snare sounds just to get something that fits kind of what I'm looking for. And even then, I have relatively limited options. I kind of do everything stock Logic with some, with what Logic has outside of external plugins that you have to spend thousands of dollars on. But I'm very like, I need to get into the session and start chipping away at it and just really like taking what's in here and just putting it there so I can hear it and have it played back to me and make sense before I send it to anyone. So I have a lot of hours and a lot of practice just kind of doing that and finding, different sounds, different stuff that I can work with, even in terms of production, some elements of, where things should sit in the mix, where background vocals, which have become huge for my songs, where those are, how those sound. It's been something I've been meaning to improve on since like high school. So actually getting to do that in college has been really nice because now I feel more comfortable behind, I guess in front of my computer, and just working that way. My producer said something that was awesome. I loved it. This is actually a song seed in itself, but he said that when working on a song, the way he approaches it from a production standpoint is less trying to create something new, but more of kind of chiseling at stone. So it's there, it's in there. You just kind of have to chip it down. So I try and give him as much stone as I can, and I give him stuff to work with because I want, I want something that feels like me, and expanding that to another person is, it can be terrifying because it's like, okay, this is my baby, but now I have to trust someone else to kind of, fully realize it. And I'm lucky enough that the people I work with are so talented that I can, and I feel very comfortable doing that. I know, Grace, you've been working on some stuff and sending that over. What was it like, I don't know, getting a first mix back or even just sending it to some of the people you're working with?
I happen to be blessed being surrounded by the most talented people I've ever met, and will ever meet in my life currently. So I'm super blessed. I released my first song a couple years ago, 2020. So yeah, everything was going crazy, and it was all remote. And it was kind of how many times can I say that word? It was the kind of thing where I released a song not because I was like, I have something to say. I have the thing to say as an artist. It was the kind of thing where I was like, I want to release a song just to see what it's like. And that process of it was so fun, but that process of hearing your work come to fruition and getting that like first mix back, it was like it was so joyful when you hear everything come together. I had another moment like that when I did my first my blowout massive Grace Pehrman show like I did in October, and that seeing that come together, and it's my work and it's things that are close to my soul, and it's like offering up to someone on a dinner plate and you're like, here, please be gentle. Hearing that be treated with so much care and so much excellence and execution, it's really a humbling and beautiful feeling. But yeah, I'm working on some new stuff, and I should be releasing some more very soon.
You mentioned a show, Grace, so I'm curious about the different feelings you get being in the studio when it's just you versus being on a stage for people that listen to you and watch you?
My sole purpose and want in life is performance. Like I think if I was forever in a studio, I would get pretty depressed. I love being able to put my work in something that's immobile and can last and evergreen. But I so much of me is just naturally a performer. I also won't shut up, so that's like you can see it. But I think in terms of those contrasts, I don't know. I feel like I'm the most artist when I'm like writing in my little notes app, like lyrics and stuff, and I'm cooking in there. But
I love the little thing Nico did with his
yeah,
hands.
I think I feel the most like, oh, I'm creating new ideas. I'm expressive when I'm by myself. But when I'm on stage, it's kind of like the execution is where I feel like I thrive, and I just love performing so much. Nico is also a fantastic performer, so I'm interested to see what you think of, because you do actually a lot more studio work than performing work.
Yeah,
What's that?
I'm at least these days more behind the scenes. I'm working on this semester getting out into Boston and playing shows, and making that a bit more of my bit more my image. Grace likes to make fun of me all the time.
I know.
Grace loves to. If ever we disagree, she goes, Nico, how many gigs do you have again?
Oh,
I
no.
go, Grace, I'm working on it. You just
No,
give
no.
me an
It's
hour.
all
Give me
it's
some
all in
time.
good fun. All
Yeah,
in good fun.
But
We're still on
I
the right
have
track here.
done.
We're still being nice. It's all good fun.
We're still being
Yeah.
super cordial. I'm just letting you know.
I have done some shows for originals back in late high school. I haven't had the opportunity just because of COVID and kind of, starting Berklee mid-COVID to really plant my feet in. So that's what I'm excited to start doing this upcoming semester. But at those shows, there's something very very like human and communal about being able to show these songs to a group of people. I had a song that I wrote myself and a friend of mine from high school where I did all the lyrics, and it was kind of about a family member of mine who'd passed, a few years prior, and this idea that now she's a cloud in the sky that kind of follows me around. And I'm from California, it doesn't rain, so having a cloud is kind of a cool thing. It's like, oh, here's, this isn't super common, but it's, something to kind of paint the sky differently and recontextualize my day, if that makes any sense. But being able to share that with a group of people and seeing their reactions to it, and seeing this is my story, this is my idea, this is where I'm coming from, but there's something here that other people can relate to, and there's something in this that other people can find themselves in. That was moving. I mean, that was a huge moment for me. And I remember, I'm only 16, 17 at that point, but I finished the song and I look out and I see an older gentleman, my friend's grandpa, who started crying towards the end of the song. And I was fine the whole song. And then I see that. And then the second the song's over, I go backstage and I start bawling because it's so, emotive and so personal. But being to share that has been such a blessing on me in my life. And I think it's moments like that where I'm reminded, like, oh yes, I love what I do. And I'm so lucky that I can do this and work in this environment where I can, kind of be a voice for myself, but something that other people can relate to. Yeah, to me that's just really, really powerful.
I love that feeling like you were talking about of having like your own words and your own experiences and having them out into a song, and hearing the reception and being like, oh, other people feel the same way. It's like such a magical thing, because we're writers, and we get writers' selfishness, and we're like, I'm the only one who feels this way, and then we play it and people were like, I've went through that, or I know that exactly what feeling you're talking about. And it's such a beautiful thing, because like Nico was talking about, it's camaraderie. There's so much like of a communal joy in being like, we all feel this. It's just as human experience. That's all writers do, is just reflect the human experience.
Somebody can go through maybe a slightly different or a very similar experience, or there's a whole spectrum of somebody's life compared to your life and what you're writing about, and yet it can touch them and make them feel exactly what you felt. It's that feeling that's so universal, right? At the end of the day, I feel like that emotion must be what keeps you wanting to write more songs, what keeps you wanting to have more gigs. It's to move people, it's to move yourself, and just being a creator in general. I feel like there's so many different types of art that you do it to express what you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, we're all on this big floating rock in space, right? And we're all kind of just, I think a lot of what art is for myself is trying to make sense of life and trying to put it in a way that is palatable to me. And I'm lucky enough that, some other people find it palatable in a similar way. But I mean, it's different for everyone, because I know my stuff is very, I mean, it tends to be more poppy and a bit more kind of beat you over the head. But I feel like Grace, from her writing, has a very metaphorical, almost painterly approach to how she writes, and it's gorgeous. I mean, the stuff that she has that I've heard, I've been to a good number of Grace shows, and every time I'm like, yeah, that's that is how Grace sees these things. That's how she understands them. And even though that might not be my background, listening to the song now, I see it that way too. And just that movement from art is it's so awesome. And that's like the only word I can find from it. It's awesome. It's just like, so like, I appreciate it so much, because it's different perspective that you get to understand for just a little bit. Yeah.
That was the nicest thing you've ever said.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
We're really getting a breakthrough here.
Yeah, this is therapy, man. But no, that's so kind. I think, like you were talking about, I love what you were talking about of something, finding, like, explaining the world to yourself in a way that you find palatable, and hoping that others will find palatable. The palatable is a great word overall, first, but second of all, like, it's just, that's what gives music life. And then people being like, oh my gosh, that's the same, I know what you're talking about. And each songwriter I've ever worked with or met or just had the pleasure of listening to has a different way they, like Nico said, they paint with it. So Nico's lyrics are like, you listen to him and you're like, oh god, that's so good. That's so good. Like, but just like, I don't know, everyone has their very distinct voice, and you find that when the voice is sung with, that it's not so different after all, emotionally.
Mm-hmm. I would love to get into the nitty gritty about what you guys have learned from each other, whether it is when it comes to writing or being artists and on stage, or just as people. I mean, I'm sure you could go on about things that you've learned from each other.
I've learned nothing.
Nothing. Not a thing. I knew it.
Wow. One step forward, 10 steps back.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm so blessed to have Nico as a friend, especially as a songwriter friend. Because the best thing about having like very talented friends is you can steal from them, and not in a copyright infringement way, but like in a way that's like, oh, I love how they talked about that in their music, or I love how they sung that note, or I love their tone here. And so much of my vocal performance and my vocal stylings are inspired by my closest friends. So Nico, Tyler, the list goes on. Like, you hear the way they sing things. This is just vocally, but you hear the way they sing things, and you're like, oh God, I would love to be able to have some semblance of the way they do that in my work. Yes, I've learned, if we're getting sappy, I've learned so much from Nico, especially just from a writer's sake. Just and being around, and we've known each other a really short time, but being around and watching his writing it was already fantastic, but just seeing the new things and the new ideas and the new ways of expression that your friends come up with you're just so excited to be there,
Yeah.
Grace, I think you were cutting out. Could you say all of that again, please?
On video?
Yeah, I just want to.
Oh no, you go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
No, I heard you, and I appreciate it. That actually means a lot. Getting to like work with Grace and I'm now in the board for Pitch Slapped, so I'm doing business manager stuff. She's doing president stuff, and getting to work with her in like a professional setting has been so awesome, because Grace is so on top of it and like organized, and it from that element being able to just kind of admire work ethic and ability to kind of balance. I feel like Grace is always juggling 98 things and a car. So it's like getting, I don't know what that means, but you do.
What does that mean?
But like getting to be around Grace and see that has been awesome. And then outside of that, musically and, you know, as an artist, Grace is the best performer I've ever seen.
Oh.
I don't say that lightly because I've been around a lot of musicians and people that we're friends with that are probably going to kill me when they hear that. But I'm being so serious because Grace, knowing Grace, she goes up on stage and she both is and is not a new person. Grace, as a friend, is always approachable, is always there. Grace on stage is the god of that venue, and there's no two ways about it. She commands the space. She completely takes over. But the thing that kills me, and the thing where I'm like, damn it, Grace, that's good, is that she can do that while still making her stupid jokes and still being like witty and casual. So it's this internal dichotomy between Grace of this intense, like grand performer, but then also approachable, human, witty, funny, that as an audience member, knowing Grace, I kind of forget. I'm like, oh, this isn't Grace. This is just.
I knew that was gonna happen.
There it is. There it is. This is the worst performance I have ever seen, and I hate this person. But no, I mean, getting to see that and you know, watch that kind of like this glorious presentation is so inspiring. Like as a person who is doing very similar things to Grace, like it's like, okay, that's how it's done. You know, that's what the aspiration is now. That's the bar. You've made so many other performers so much worse, because then I go watch and I'm like, they're not doing enough. Grace played the same set and she was 3 times more entertaining. What's going on? You know, it's like that kind of thing of, yeah. There you go, Grace. I hope you wrote all that down somewhere.
That's going in my diary tonight.
Oh goodness.
That's front page of the news. That was so so sweet, Nico. I appreciate that so much. Nico's, I don't know what he's talking. Nico's seen like 3 of my shows. Actually, Nico's seen like 2 of my shows. So he's judging it off 2 good days.
I think it's seriously important to recognize, like, just in general, the importance of not just learning from one artist, but I mean, you guys must have this long running list of artists that you learn from every day, whether it's people you know or your influences, your idols, like just anybody in the industry, any of your professors at Berklee, musicians, songwriters, producers, artists. I feel like it's always about learning.
Nico and I can say the same exact name on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Tyler Christian. Just that was so sweet. That was so cute of us. Anyway, but no, Tyler, we have the pleasure of knowing and learning from every day. Tyler is the best BGV arranger in town. Tyler is the best, that's background vocals. Tyler is the best at singing, we know. Tyler's the best at performing, we know. It's just, it's an honor to get to know them. And I'm glad that Bennett, you know Tyler too. So it's cool to have you on our inner circle is the hardest sentence. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Tyler is just such an inspiration. And we have so many, especially in Pitch Slap where we work together, we have all of the people in there are so fantastic, and the quality of musicianship is so high that you can't leave the group, or you can't end your time there without learning just yards of how to sing better, how to perform better. It's just we're very lucky in the environment that Nico and I are in, where we are surrounded by just incredible people. Yeah,
my standard for vocalist has like skyrocketed because of Pitch Slap, because it's like I'm around 14, 15 other people that are just the best at their craft, and approaching it from, I still feel like I'm new, even though I've been here, a year and a half, almost 2 years. But first joining, it was kind of nice because I wanted to join for the challenge, and I instantly was met with it. And it was one of those like, all right, you're either going to do it or you're not.
Nico found out about auditions that day. He's pulling your leg.
That's not true. No, Tyler and I lived on the same dorm floor in spring of 2021. So they told me about it then. I actually also did a Pitch Slap arrangement in high school.
With my, I don't know any of this.
Yeah, I did an arrangement in high school. I wasn't super familiar with the group past that. We did oh geez, I don't remember now. It was a Christmas arrangement, but I had done a cappella in high school, and then found out through Tyler, and then auditioned for the group. And it was one of those things where I was like, I'm fully auditioning just to say that I auditioned. I wasn't expecting anything from it because I'm pretty confident in my vocal ability, but there are some things that I know I just could not do. But then going in, getting accepted was terrifying because now it's like, okay, I couldn't do this before. I have to learn how to do it now. And pushing myself for that, again, with these like upper echelon singers has been crazy. Grace, when did you start a cappella? Because you don't have a, went to a music school. I'm awesome, but you didn't have that background, so I'm curious.
I was in an a cappella group in high school. We were actually pretty good for how small the school was. We had a fantastic music teacher. His name is Steve Weber. Hi, Steve. And he was a great musician. And we ended up, it was a group of like 10 or 11 kids just singing. And we ended up placing pretty well a couple of times and becoming pretty known throughout the community. And we're in suburban New Jersey. So it was really interesting that worked as well as it did. But yeah, I did a cappella at a different group freshman year of Berklee, and then I ended up once again, I think it was spring of 2020. I joined Pitch Slapped. So an interesting time to join a group. And yeah, the rest is history.
Did you guys keep stuff going virtually when COVID hit, or how did everything go to a halt? What happened?
Yeah, we did a lot of virtual collaborations with artists. We did my favorite thing we did was we did a little video thing with Scott Hoying of Pentatonics. We did a collaboration with DeAndre, who's a fantastic singer, with a collab with Vincent, another fantastic singer. We did a bunch of this is before I joined, but they had a bunch of Instagram little challenges and just keeping our social media just active and having goings on when there's nothing to happen. And then we would, when I first joined, we had a space that we had reserved where we would sing with masks and 6 feet apart from each other, which is just terrible. It's just really tricky to sing with a mask in the first place. And then especially with a cappella, you have to be close to people. You have to hear, and you have to blend with others. And so just it was a challenge missing that communal spirit of a cappella. And a cappella is a big part of Nico and I's careers now. So yeah, I'm super grateful to have the chance to just be in the part of the story for it too.
Anything in particular about just going to Berklee, like whether it's outside of Pitch Slapped or anything more about Pitch Slapped that you guys want to reflect on as far as things that you've learned and that's maybe helped your musicianship? Because I know that the list goes on and on and on, but any standout points that you want to make about how Berklee has helped you?
Yeah, I feel like musically, I mean, I would hope musically you learn a lot. And being able to be in these, harmony classes and ear training classes as a foundation is great, but being around musicians, I think, has been my biggest takeaway, because getting to, work with people like Pitch Slapped or other writers that I'm surrounded by, I feel like every day I'm humbled by the people that I know. And that is a great feeling, because as a creative that can get very neurotic with his stuff, I can get very locked behind what I want to do, my vision, my idea, my concept. So having other people to kind of reality check me has been really nice. And then again, just being inspired by other people and what Grace is saying, about learning just vocally from other people or performance wise or anything like that, I think it has been one of, if not the biggest takeaway from my time at Berklee. Again, I feel like I say this a lot, but I'm super lucky and so fortunate. How about you guys? Because you're like done. You're out.
Yeah, I'm done.
You have a full picture that you can.
Yeah, I have a full picture for sure. The thing is, I was in college for a second because of COVID. So the amount of time was, I think I was remote more than I was in person at the end of the day. Which is, no, that's actually not true. It's the other way around. But I'm just being dramatic. But I think like Nico talking about learning from other people. One of my favorite quotes, and just I think about this all the time as a creator and as a musician, surrounded by a million other people better than you. If you're the best person, it's a quote, I can't remember what I said, but if you're the best person in the room, you need to go to a different room because you're not going to grow until you're surrounded by people who are better than you. And for me, being from a tiny school, and me being the quote the best of what I did in that sense, like I was the singer girl, I was the musician girl, it and going and Berklee, it's like, oh my god, everyone's so good. And then you're like, okay, well, what makes me special? And then the last 4 years of your um education is devoted to being like, oh, this is what makes me special, and here's how I can make sure it sounds good, and make sure I know what I'm doing with it. So I am very grateful for Berklee. I would say that if you don't apply yourself, you won't get much out of it. A lot of the stuff is setting you up for success, setting you up so that you can give yourself success. It's not setting you up for success. It's a lot of personal application, and it's a lot of like, we're gonna teach you this, do what you want with it, but this is how it works, kind of thing.
Grace, I don't know if we really talked about this when you did Idol Unaired, but when you went on Idol, was it tricky? Because I know it must have not been an insane amount of time because they filmed everything so close together. But as far as missing any school or getting caught up on things or missing opportunities, was it challenging to kind of leave for a minute and then getting caught up? Because it's like it's a commitment to be a student and then to be so involved in being a musician as a Berklee student. I know must have been a lot to balance for a hot minute.
I was lucky in that I was actually taking like a full 15 credits. I was doing a lot of work. I did a lot of stuff before, like the week before I left. So like if I had like a tonal harmony quiz too. I did it like a week in advance. And my teachers, the good thing about Berklee is that a lot of the teachers are musicians and performers as well. So most of the time they understand if you have a gig. A bunch of our friends who are insanely talented in their careers took off while they're still in school. Either their teachers have been super understanding, or they just take a semester off, kind of thing. But yeah, it is a difficult thing to balance. There came a time, I think sophomore year, when I realized that my own music and my gigging and my career stuff was more important than homework. And that's kind of what Berklee lets you be, which is nice. At least in my experience, I feel like when I've been like, I'm running late, I have a gig, the teacher's like, okay, cool, me too, kind of thing. So yeah, it's been, I don't know, Nico, what's your experience between balancing that?
I mean, it's been pretty straightforward, just because a lot of the gigs that I've been doing have been through Pitch Slapped. So a lot of that you can kind of, you can email a teacher and just say, hey, I have this coming up. A good example actually was this the finals week for this past semester. We had a Berklee holiday party on Monday afternoon, and I had a final presentation that would have actually gone through our sound check. And I emailed my teacher and I said, hey, like I have this going on. Is there any way I could go first in the class and then just leave to make it for this? And he's like, oh yeah, of course. And he said, I'm also going to be at the holiday party later. So yeah, he's like, just do your presentation and then I'll see you a couple hours after. And I was like, great. And it's stuff like that. And just, I think as long as you communicate with the teachers, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't do that and then they get in trouble. But
Yeah, that's the problem.
as long as you're on top of just letting everyone know what's going on, it's pretty accommodating for whatever you have to do. At least again in my and Grace experience.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of an out of order question. I thought about it earlier, but Nico, you talked about using Logic. I have very little experience with DAWs, and if you're listening and you have no experience and you don't know what a DAW is, I don't know if you want to break it down, but I'm curious about your choice to use Logic over Pro Tools, over any other like slightly less popular thing, like what goes into using Logic, why you like it, why you don't like the other ones.
So I started like just with Logic in, I want to say 2018, like mid 2018. I, with my school, had seen visually Pro Tool sessions and kind of watched, we had a production class where we kind of went over more the science of sound and how it travels from mic to, XYZ to get into the computer. And when picking my DAW, which for those who don't know, DAW is Digital Audio Workstation or Workplace. I know some people say it differently, but when picking that, I had a MacBook. Friends that I was with were using Logic, and I'd kind of seen their sessions. And to me, just visually, that was it. Visually, it made more sense. And I figured, I'm like, I'm in high school. I have a MacBook. I'll get it. It's also not as expensive as some of the other ones, which as a, high schooler, as a college student is really important. And then from there, that's what I became proficient in. So then if ever I tried to switch, I had to do some Pro Tools stuff at Berklee. It just didn't, for me, it just didn't compute the right way. Like there's something about the interface and just kind of, the way that it's laid out to me that just makes sense. And I know for some people that is Ableton or, FL Studios or something like that. And just for me, like looking at those and trying to like kind of follow along in sessions with those, I couldn't really get behind it. And industry standard, as it has been, is Pro Tools. And that's kind of what everyone uses. But I took a production for songwriter class at Berklee, and talking to my teacher, he said there's a difference in fidelity or like sound quality, but it's so small that only like the most insane people with the best ears on the planet really can hear a difference. So for me, it just made sense to stick to it, and just kind of keep fostering and putting all of my effort into that and just getting really, really proficient in it.
Grace, I know you talked about the production that you do for your demos. What do you use to record?
I use Logic now. I started using Pro Tools, and I got pretty okay at Pro Tools. And it's very, I don't know if you've seen the layout of it. It's very busy. If you don't know what you're doing, and I still don't know what I'm doing. So it's been really nice to move to Logic, which is very user friendly. It's basically, it looks like GarageBand, and then it's just a professional DAW. I also used Reason for a little bit because we had to learn it for like a music technology class, and so Reason actually I really like too. It's just very antiquated by now, but yeah.
I kind of want to give you guys a chance to ask each other any sort of final questions, really about anything. Whoever wants to start. Do you have any thoughts for each other that I haven't sort of started, either one of you?
I know I do. Give me 1 second. Oh, I do. Nico, how important do you feel as an artist are like visuals to your work? So either like cover art or like I don't know, or personal like how you dress or how you look. How important to that is that when it comes to your music, do you feel?
I will say it's very important. Whether or not I've acted on that is up for debate.
You have. It's good. It's all good.
But yeah, visual presentation, I mean, that's what's going to grab people. And for me, like as a listener, if I think of, like a Frank Ocean album, I see him like Blonde. I see him in that, like, like I see the photo in my head. And like, even with some artists, like I will say, oh, it's this one song off of the like Blue Covered album. I don't even know the album name. I know what it looks like. So I think just from a presentation standpoint, that's really important. And like dressing and, that personal presentation is also like super important, because I feel like people now are making, I mean, it's so like businessy, but like, brand image is a very key part of how you market yourself. Something that I'm still working on, something I'm trying to get better at. But like really finding that and honing down on it, I think is a very important thing. Again, like from a marketing perspective, to be able to say, oh, this is me, this is what I look like, and this is like how you will know me. So like for me, at least for the first bit of music, my hair is long. It has to stay long for the first bit of music, because that's, at least right now, is part of my image. Whether or not personally I want that, up for debate, but it's what I got. So, it's like, this is
part of, and you come back buzz.
It's been on my mind. I washed my hair the other day, and mid like shampoo, I was like, I'm done. I'm cutting it all off. It's gone.
Oh my God.
I was so ready. Let me think of a question now for Grace. I know I have one. I just gotta like formulate it. Because you are a very metaphorical writer, how do you approach that? Is it from stuff that you already have in mind, or do you kind of find it as it's happening? Because I know we've talked about like influence from poetry and that kind of thing, but how like I see that for a starting point, but as you continue the song, kind of how do you chip away at that?
I don't think of it as being metaphorical. I think of it as saying things in a pretty way, I guess. But like, or in a way that like we said is palatable. To me, to my ears at least. I pull greatly an inspiration from Father John Misty, who is like this satirical folky writer. But what I really like about him is that he will write about something that's so ordinary and it will have this whole big meaning behind it. He has a song called Goodbye Mr. Blue where it's like the lyrics are, this may be the last time I put on my shoes, go down to the corner and buy the cat the expensive food. It's the only thing that's left of me and you. And the song is about this cat who also symbolizes someone's relationship. So that's very more metaphorical in a sense, but I think it kind of just happens as I'm doing it. Um, yeah, I really just like pretty ways of saying things. I think I wrote a lyric the other day about we talked about, where it's the lyric is nothing tastes better than your laughter in my mouth. That was inspired by a poem I read. And then the next line is it's biblical honey like I used to read about. That's very, it's a pretty way of saying it. It's nice. you know yes, I wouldn't say metaphorical. I would say just saying things the way I see life.
Nico, I know that earlier I think you described the way that Grace writes maybe as painterly. Grace, I know that you do paint, and we talked about on the Idol podcast, you painted. You actually showed me one of your paintings. I was wondering if you wanted to talk about your art, or I don't know if you have anything that you want to show us, just putting you on the spot, but even just to talk about that hobby of yours. And then Nico, I'm going to ask you if you have any hobbies as well, because I would love to talk about other creative things that you guys do in addition to just singing.
I don't have anything up in my room right now, but yeah, I think the visual hobby I have of being like a visual illustration and art is so, I don't know, it's so supplemental to music. I think if you let me just cut me stuttering. But if you like think of how painters view the world, and how they view colors in certain manners, and how you see how musical writers view the world in certain manners. There's so much of the same thing. It's just art, and it's just expressing how you see something. There's this term of in what's the word? There's this term in fine art we use called I don't know what it's called. I don't know. There's a fancy word for it, but it's the idea of looking at something's color. Oh, so here's a flower. It's the idea of looking at something's color and picking up the other colors under it. So you would say this flower, this dead, dying flower, is pink. But if you look at it in this lighting, it's there's blues there, there's reds there, there's purples there. It's just all about how you pick apart different things and how you see things, and that is expressed on a canvas basically. And the same exact thing happens with music. So I look at a situation like what's a situation? Say a friendship ends. I say a friendship ends and you find like, oh, this thing reminds me of them, or this, you pick apart the little details and then you just express it. They work the same way.
I know Grace is similar, love to act. And that was, I talked earlier about I started in musical theater. I realized I liked the acting and I liked the singing, not so much the dancing in musical theater, but I really liked kind of those two things. And I realized I like them separately. I love, just like a play or something like that. Or I've done a few short films. My brother goes to Long Beach for film, so I've had to work with him a few times. Cal State Long Beach, I should clarify, not just the place Long Beach. So being able to, I see it similarly to music, where I'm just taking somebody's understanding of something and just trying to walk in those shoes for a little bit. And I think similar to what Grace is saying, it is very supplemental because you get to understand things differently. And, I've played an odd batch of characters who have very strange ideas on things, but just getting to kind of rationalize that, make that part of, that person and part of me for a little bit, and present that in my interpretation. I think is a very good way of, again, what I was saying earlier, just understanding life as we know it. I think also in terms of music, the way that I approach writing can kind of mimic some of those actor mindsets that I'll have. So I like to do a lot of very conversational lyrics, I think is a good way of putting it. So a lot of stuff where it's like, this is me in a moment with someone that I'm essentially just writing down and then presenting, instead of, with two actors and a camera, with me and my guitar, and having that be like the presentation for it, and kind of, getting in the mindset of a character. Even my first single that I released, Living, is very, to me, that's a story. That's not even, that's removed from myself, but there's elements of myself in it. But when I'm singing it, it's like, it's removed enough that I feel like I'm playing a character, which is funny because some of it's based on true things, but then you kind of manipulate it to fit. To me, that song's very grand and big, and big on aspiration. There's this stuff in the lyrics about like, wanting to play out arena stages and that kind of thing, and this idea of like, becoming famous in order to, not famous, but I guess like known, to be like, now I'm the one that people see, even though I felt unseen. And obviously all of that is odd, and the way it's presented is more through the lens of kind of a breakup, and then finding yourself that way, and being heard. But that to me is a character. That is not myself. So when I sing it, I have to be that character. And again, even in performance, I think a lot of performance is acting for vocalists, of like, a lot of what I'm writing about is true stuff that I've lived. Most of what I'm writing about is stuff that I've lived through. And it's kind of weird. It's a little torturous because you're like, I'm going to put myself through this again.
Salt in the wound.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's a way of like exposure therapy, of like, now that I've kind of lived through it and I keep singing the same story over and over again, it doesn't sting as much. So it's just kind of, getting to address things that way, both personally and as a creative. And acting, I think, is very important to that, and that idea.
Yeah, it's healing in a sense, if you will. But I think sorry. I think that like if I'm performing a song, like it's so much, like totally agree with Nico about acting's role in performance. If you're singing a song and the line is "you broke my heart" and you haven't been through heartbreak yet, you kind of have to like put yourself there or pull from something. And I know a lot of actors when they have to do something emotional in a scene or shooting something, they have to go back to a situation that is not what happened is happening in the script, but has made them feel the same way. And then yeah, that's it. It's so much of that happens in performance. Like if I'm singing about something that hasn't happened to me, I can think of something that made me feel probably a similar way, and you sing it from there.
This has been so much fun, and I'm really excited because you both are going to perform, and I can't wait to hear both of you guys sing and then kind of like react to each other's performances. But before we get to that, I just want to make sure we're covering everything. Is there anything else that you guys want to touch on or talk about before we get to the performances?
You're in for a treat. Nico's song is fantastic.
Thank you, Grace.
Do you?
He's gonna kill me for that. He's gonna kill me after today.
Tell me about these songs. Whoever wants to go first. I mean, we're going to hear them, but I still would love to know what we can expect.
I'll go first.
Yeah, please. I'm doing a cover. I'm not doing an original, so Nico's more than welcome to talk about this.
So I have this song that I wrote called "Shut Up," which is kind of what I was actually speaking about earlier. Is this very conversational? I like having this kind of relatable character in my songs. So the song is kind of this conversation of, myself being like talking to a person from the past and being like, man, I really need to stop talking. And it's very true to myself, because it's one of those things of like, you don't know when to stop, and then you kind of cross a line and you're like, oh, dang, I did too much. I should backtrack a little bit. It's actually one of my favorite songs I've written. I think there's a lot of heart to it. I think it's funny. I don't know if everyone else does, but I think it's funny. So yeah, that's a bit about my song. This is the next single that I'm actually planning on releasing. I do not have a date for that yet, but yeah, it sounds really good. I got a mix back this morning, and with full instrumentation, I love it. So I'm really excited to put this out for people to hear.
I have a bunch of original songs. I'm not the best guitarist, and my piano is downstairs, and there's so many dogs down there. So I figured it might be better for volume's sake to play guitar in my room. I am singing a song called "Simply Beautiful," and it's by Al Green, who, like I said, is my top tier vocalist. Song is very, very, very special to me. It's just, I don't know, it's just beautiful, and I've been singing it for as long as I can remember. So.
Well, I can't wait to hear both performances. The fun thing, because I've never done this before, who's going to go first? We have to figure out who's going to go first.
Can we rock, paper, scissors?
We'll do whatever virtual equivalent of that.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, you do shoot.
Oh,
okay,
yeah. Wait. Is the winner the one who goes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay, you're up, Grace.
I'm going. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Me can't play the guitar. This is what we're going with. All right. This is Simply Beautiful by Al Green. It's just a little bit of it. If I gave you my love, I'd tell you what I do. I'd expect a whole lot of love out of you. Oh, you got to be good to me. Oh, I'm gonna be good to you. There's a whole lot of things you and I could do. Oh, simply beautiful.
I have no words. That was simply incredible. Wow. I don't have words. Nico, do you have words?
Come on, Grace. Come on, Grace.
Here's the thing. From the first like 1 minute of that, great. Last minute, it came out a little bit.
My stank face was in full effect just watching that. That was insane.
Actually,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right, so this is my song, Shut Up. How's it going? How's the family been? Been a while since I seen my friends. Been alone, I'm struggling to fit in. I was never much a party kid. What's the weather like and how's the dog? Does he still have that yellow ball? When you throw it, do you think of me? Damn, I said too much, I should probably shut up. And I'm hoping that our world will not revolve around the past. Is that too much to ask? Oh, and I'm trying, but I look at your face and I can't help but think, oh, what am I dying? 8 billion race, no one in your place. I'm numb to the bullshit that my friends probably think I'm in need of a shrink above my eyelids, and I can't walk away, but I know I should just shut up. I'm Can I just stop? Can I please just shut up? Can I ask you where we went wrong? Not enough of a senior prom. Kinda put you in every song. And I'm wishing that we can be just friends like how it was. I may have messed that up. Oh, and I'm trying, but I look at your face and I can't help but think of what am I dying? 8 billion race, no one in your place. I'm numb to the bullshit that my friends probably think I'm in need of a shrink above my eyelids, and I can't walk away, but I know I should just shut up. Keep on talking, crack the joke, never quiet, so she won't know that I miss what we did in the summer. Did I do something wrong? I keep racking my brain, and I'm sorry for rambling. Time I'm gambling, I just gotta understand. Oh, and I'm trying, but I look at your face and I can't help but think, oh, what am I dying? 8 billion race, no one in your place. I'm numb to the bullshit that my friends probably think I'm in need of a shrink above my eyelids, and I can't walk away, but I know I should just shut up. 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 I know I
Shut up. Shut
Yeah.
up. Oh, that was.
Shut up. Shut up.
So the funny thing is, I
Oh.
lost my pick halfway through into the guitar.
Oh man, that's so.
So I'll
I've
have
to
been
get
there. I
that
took
later.
like 6th grade guitar class. That happens so many times. Just imagine imagine an entire room of 6th graders shaking their guitars trying to get the pick out. Oh my gosh. Oh,
Just
that was so
man.
good.
Isn't Nico
guys-
so good? Nico's so good. Nico's so
Yeah,
good.
thank
Every
you,
time
Grace.
Nico pulls out that damn guitar and plays a damn
Yeah.
song,
Oh
I'm
my
like, oh
gosh.
God, that's so good.
Wow. Getting to hear 2 incredible performances back to back is such a treat. Man, I feel so honored that I got to hear that. My ears are blessed.
Thank you. I'm glad we got
I'm
to. That
honored
was
to
fun.
play for you, Bennett, my friend.
I mean,
my
any
old
more just
friend.
like since you guys have been so nice to each other. Anything else you want to say to each other about those performances?
Ooh, Nico,
Horrible.
it was
Uh-oh.
Worst thing I've ever
terrible.
seen.
Sorry,
Worst
man.
thing that my ears are actually bleeding.
There's
so
a
it's-
lump going down my skin. No, Nico's so good. I don't tell him it enough. He's a fantastic friend and a fantastic musician. I
No, likewise. This is
shatter my computer. I throw it out the window. No.
Oh my God.
Grace, this is the last time I'll compliment you, but you're all right.
Okay. I'm
No,
good.
that was great. You
That's-
sound typically amazing.
Oh, thanks.
As you normally do. You sound
Oh.
incredible. That's what I meant by that. Not.
Like Bennett needs popcorn the next time you interview us because we could just go.
Hey, you guys are welcome anytime. What are you guys looking forward to? I think it would be fun to start by saying what you're looking forward to from each other. So, Grace, what are you looking forward to from Nico and vice versa?
I can't wait to hear this song like ready to go and out. And I want to see Nico do a big show, like a big live show, and for all of us to be there. And I want him to have that moment, and I want him to play his music, and everyone to share in the joy that you get from hearing it as his friend. It's really cool.
Thanks, Grace. I need Fish Tank on platform, on YouTube. I'll take MySpace.
Chord.
That's a song of Grace's that she's been playing for a while, and it's so freaking good, and I want to hear that out so I can have it and listen to it when I want to. Also, just like in the future, just getting to go to like your show at like MGM or something crazy, like some crazy venue, some Super Bowl stadium with Grace Pehrman.
I just said that's super kind. Like everything Nico said oddly to me.
It was so fun getting to hear these acoustic performances, but I'm hearing about this like this stage presence, and I know we talked about Idol on Air too, but it'd be so fun. I have to come see a show from both of you, because imagine getting treated to these acoustic songs. I need to see you guys on a stage. I need to feel the energy of the crowd. So I gotta come to wherever you guys are playing in the future. We gotta make it happen.
Invite me.
I can say I have a show at the Burren in Boston, Somerville, April 30th, I believe. I can double check that right now, but that is going to be all original music. My first live show in Boston, so I'm really, really excited about that.
I'm very excited for that.
Yes, April 30th. Doors are at 6 p.m. and the show's from 7 to 11. So
I haven't honestly announced it yet, but I do have a single coming out. Fish Tank is the next to be released. Yay! And so that's coming out super soon. I've been working with a fantastic everyone involved in it. I respect so much. So I've been working with a great team, great person doing visuals for me. I really want to have a visual component of it as well. And I also am doing like a little mini So Far tour. I'm doing a bunch of So Far shows in the Boston area. So I'm gonna post those dates to my socials soon. So there'll be a bunch of chances to hear mostly just my originals, which there's a bunch of them now. So I'll be playing a bunch of those throughout Massachusetts.
I gotta just say it before you, Nico. I'm so glad that Fish Tank is going swimmingly.
Yeah!
Oh, I feel like I passed the stone.
Nico's heart just gave out. That was
how about a challenge, and we'll find one for each of you. We both walk away from this conversation. I don't know if you plan to listen back, but you use at least one word that you used in this podcast as you write another song. So, I mean, maybe for you, Grace, it's swimmingly, and then Nico, you listen to the conversation, and like you each use one word from the conversation. There we go, and we figure out how to incorporate that into another record.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. I already have
the second I do it, I'll send it too. I'll send it to you guys.
I have the word swimming in one of my songs, but I think we need to get swimmingly, like going swimming. Yeah. I need to put that in. Or palatable and Nico does swimmingly.
Here's the thing about that.
No.
Well, I thought you said here's the thing about that. You're about to go on and explain something, but think about that.
No. That's part of his boyish charm.
Oh, jeez. Ay.
We're gonna stop it right there.
Well, before we do, Nico, tell us anything that you want to promote: shows, merch, songs, anything.
So song, no release date yet. Show at the Burren, April 30th. Myself and a friend of mine, Tyler, who we've mentioned now multiple times, we vocal arranged for the Miley Cyrus ensemble. So there's a bunch of background vocals that we put together at Berklee. So that'll be April 14th and 15th, I believe, at the BPC, the Berklee Performance Center. Great show. I mean, insane musicians. I've been super lucky to be part of that. Outside of that, I'm on all social media platforms, definitely TikTok and Instagram, at Carfishy, CARFISHI. So yeah, you can find me there. I post covers every now and then and some originals. So there for any more updates is where I send people.
You can follow me TikTok, Instagram, whatever, at Grace Pehrman, just my name, GRACE. You know how it's spelled. And then my last name is spelled wait, how does it spell? Pehrman. Makes no sense. That was embarrassing. But you can find me on socials at Grace Pehrman anywhere. And yeah, I post. I can't give social media a break, so I'm typically pretty active, and I'll be posting about my show dates pretty frequently as they come up.
By the way, Grace, since you were on American Idol Unaired, we are going to link your episode in the show notes. So if you guys want to go back, if you have not heard Grace's episode of American Idol Unaired, you can do that. And just check out that podcast as a whole. And if you enjoyed the Artist Exchange, make sure that you subscribe, rate, leave a review, all that jazz. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Grace, Nico, anything you want to say before we head out?
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Bennett. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
Nico, it was great to meet you, man. Grace, great to see you again. This has been fun. This is like a fun little group chat, hangout. You know, it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
If you like this podcast, please share and leave a comment, review, or whatever your platform allows you. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Artist Exchange Podcast. You can also get in touch through email, artistexchangepodcast@gmail.com. Special thanks to our editor, Nick Opat.